We are doing a quick video on how to flush the on-demand or tankless water heater. Alright, so here's our materials list. 5-gallon bucket, 2 hoses. I got, I believe they're 8-foot hoses. You don't need too long, but too short could really cause some problems for you. So I'd do like 8 to 10 feet probably.
That's so long.
Yep. And then we have a 1/4 horsepower pump in here. The ends on this are the same as like a outdoor hose bib or a washer and dryer bib. We got some zip ties and an adjustable wrench.
A stool.
Oh, and a stool. You'll probably need a stool.
I
I was going to say, depending on how tall you are, you will need a stool. All of them are slightly different, but they're mostly the same. So we're hoping this will be helpful to several of you out there that are curious on how to do this exactly in our homes. So first thing first, let's go ahead and cut off the gas and electricity to the unit.
For my
So
plug, it's right up here,
yeah, so for this one, the plug is up here.
and we're just pulling that out.
So pull the plug, that'll die.
That up here, so
Yep,
it doesn't come
just
down.
keep it out of the way.
Okay.
Okay, and then let's shut off the gas. So the gas is down here. That's the valve right there.
That
Yep.
one there.
So
That's
turn
always gotta
that.
Shut off.
Yep.
And
Figure out which way it
it's gonna
turns.
be this
It'll be a
way,
quarter turn. Yep, there you
right
go.
there, right?
That should be off. Yep.
Which is flat, right? Flat's
Exactly.
cut off,
So
this is
when you
straight
when you flatten this one off, it's turning that plate in here like this to block it off.
and then when it's straight within this is flat. Okay.
Yep, exactly. When it's straight through, it's flowing through. Okay, cool. So we've got the gas and electricity turned off. Let's now go to shutting off the water to the unit itself. So we've got 2 water shut-off valves here. So it's going to be above it. So actually, let's do a real quick review on how this works. So this hot water heater has an intake and then an outlet here. So
Is this intake?
yep, the cold water comes in the unit here, circulates around, heats up, and then comes out through the hot.
Side here.
So we want to go ahead and turn both of the valves off for the main thing here. So you're going to want to turn this one.
Heat off.
Yeah, turn the heat off.
That's
Again, kind of the same way with the other one where it does a
right.
quarter turn and then it's off. See that? Do the same with the cold.
So cold gets a turn.
Yep,
And it looks like it's right on that one.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. So those are now off. So what we're going to be doing as like an overview concept here is we're going to be attaching some hoses to these. Okay, so there's a one on the hot side and there's one on the cold side.
Cold
See
one on
that
this
right
side.
back there. Yep.
Wow, that's really in there.
So what's going to happen is when we connect our hoses and then turn these valves, okay, these ones here,
Yep.
we're bypassing the main water of the house.
Yep.
And we're going to let the pump circulate water just within this guy here. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the idea. These might have a little bit of pressurized water in them still.
Okay.
So we're going to unscrew these caps first and connect the hoses. Okay.
Okay.
So-
before we open this valve here.
Exactly. We want to do that first and get it connected to the pump and everything.
Okay.
That way we don't risk a problem.
Okay.
I'm going to pause this for just a second while we get the hoses ready. Okay, so we've got the hoses here. These are actually just standard like hoses that you would get for your washer. See that? So you can buy those at any hardware store. I just got them on Amazon because I got the pump on Amazon. It was a little cheaper to get them in a bundle, it seemed.
Is the steel mesh on them
So-
typical? Or?
Yeah, you don't have to. They can just be rubber. I got the steel ones just because I thought they might hold up a little bit better is all. Again, they were pretty cheap though. It really wasn't a huge difference between rubber and steel. So here's the pump that we're using. It is a submersible utility pump with the same size connectors as the washer and dryer one. I don't know what the measurements are on those. I'll try to link it in the description of this video to make that easier to find.
Maybe we can give all the specs for these.
And then this is a 4th horsepower. Should be more than enough for something like this. We're literally just trying to circulate the water. So in the end, we're going to have these hoses hooked up to the cold and
Cold and
hot,
one for
like
each.
bypass valves. And then we're going to stick this pump in this 5-gallon bucket. This is where we're going to have the vinegar. and then it's just going to circulate through there. So we're going to again get to the point that we're hooking up the pipes or the hoses and come back. All right, so we are hooking up the hoses right now.
I've got one end going to the cold here.
Perfect.
I don't know if we'll need a wrench. That seems like it's going to tighten really well.
I like to do just a little tiny bit. Like, you shouldn't crank on it.
Okay.
You want to mostly hand tighten it.
Okay.
And then I'd take one of these and just do like an 1/8 or a 1/4 turn to just make sure that it's really snug on there.
You don't want it spilling all over the place.
Exactly.
Put
But
vinegar.
you're right. You could get 90-95% of the way there just hand tightening them. That's what they're meant for. So,
Okay. Was that
feel
it
pretty
then?
good?
Just that 1/4, because it's, yeah, it was hand tightened and then.
okay. Yeah, that should be enough. And if there is a problem, we'll shut things off and tighten it a little bit more. But yeah, be careful to not over tighten it, because you can actually squeeze the rubber washer and it'll like start
That's between,
going out of where it's supposed to
That's
be.
between
So.
1/4 and a half in there. So
Perfect.
I don't
That's
think I
fine.
want to do more than that.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Second hose to the heat.
Yep. Both ends should be identical, so it doesn't really matter on the hose which end is going to the pump and which end is connecting to this, by the way. And there you go.
This one is a little bit more awkward, so that's
Yeah.
as tight as I can get.
That's exactly why I bring the wrenches. Not necessarily because you should be just cranking on it, but sometimes it's just easier to get a better grip and get it where it needs to be. Plumbing is such a weird balance between getting things tight and not too tight.
It's about between 1/4 and half again, so
Okay, perfect.
that feels pretty secure.
All right, so we've now got those connected. Before we open those valves, though, we want to make sure it's connected to our pump and in the bucket here. So let's get this over here, put it close to the drain in case we have an accident. So something with the pump we got here, and this may not be the case with yours, but it has a bottom that can't be flush against the ground. Actually, it looks like there's some screw holes here, but I don't think I have anything that'll work with that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just kind of tie this to the side. The other thing is this will keep it like from being submerged too much in the vinegar and just enough.
Okay.
So
So there's either you could put screws on the bottom of that fitting to set it
Yeah.
up above the ground so that it has flow, or you hang it like this.
yeah, and I prefer the hanging method just because, again, it keeps it. It'd be really hard to get screws tall enough to keep it like from being like completely submerged in the water there.
Okay.
So if you see here, I just put it on this cord part and did that there. So the vinegar will probably come up to about this level, about halfway through, and just keep the whole thing from being submerged.
Okay.
So, and then as far as the hoses, what we want to do is the cold is going to go onto the pump.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we're going to keep the direction the same that it normally functions, right? Cold water goes in, hot goes out.
Okay.
The pump is going to be pushing water into the water heater. So we're going to put it here. This is the cold
pushing
water
in
one.
the cold then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's going to be pushing the cold through the system. Yeah, let's just do a little, especially on this plastic fitting, be so careful. Just like a 1/4 turn. That's it. Okay? And then the hot water tube, so the one that's connected to a hot water bypass,
Yep.
this guy here, just show that real quick to make it clear. The red one is hot.
Hot stair that we're dealing with. We
Yep.
just took the tube that was in the cold and put that in to the
To the
top
pump.
Yep, to the
Yep.
top pump.
So this one, you're gonna want, I like to string it through here or something, and then to the bottom, okay?
Okay.
Because the point of this guy, and in fact, to be extra sure, you may want to tie this on, because what you really, really don't want happening is this thing coming out of the bucket. You really, really don't want that happening.
Yes. Vinegar all over, yes.
Yeah, vinegar all over the place. So we are next to the drain, so the damage be minimal. But if you've got it like a finished basement or something, and that thing flies out to somewhere that
It shouldn't, yeah.
that is not near the drain, and you now get vinegar in your carpet, enough said, right?
Yep.
So do not mess around with that. Like, make sure it's secured in place. So now that we've got these both in place, so we've got the hot water bypass hose and then the cold water connected to the pump, we're now going to fill this with vinegar and go from there. All right, so just to clarify, let's get a good look at this. We're just putting cleaning vinegar in. Basically, you just want white distilled vinegar, okay? Don't try to put any like apple cider or something. That would be a bad idea.
This one's just not food grade. It's
Exactly. If you can get white distilled cheaper, go for it, but this cleaning stuff is most likely your best bet. So see how it's filled, you know, about halfway up the pump there.
And we used 6.
Yeah, we used 6.
64 ounce.
6 of the 2 quart or 64 ounce.
Yep.
See that? So anyway, you might be able to get away with a little less or a little more depending on your bucket, but if you're going to use a 5-gallon bucket, that's probably your best bet. Keep in mind that you're going to fill this with vinegar, so even though it may look a little high right now, that may not be the case once the pump gets started. So you want a little bit extra, if any. Sorry, we almost skipped ahead. You don't want to do the pump until this is open, or it's going to be a closed loop, and that would be a problem. Pump would overheat. So go ahead and flip these. See that? And then that one needs to get flipped open as well. I'll try to do this without killing myself. Easier said than done. All right. Gosh, that one's really in there. There we go. Okay. So see how that's open now? When the valve lines up with the pipe, that is open. Okay, so that's now open. The pump is ready to go. Let's go ahead and plug it in.
I don't have a plug here close, do I? Besides the one up there?
I think the one up there might be your only choice down here, yeah. And if you've got a finished basement or something and a easier, lower plug, I would probably use that, but... Okay, so go ahead and plug it into your power strip. And again, let's keep an eye for things. Don't panic if there is a leak. Just unplug it, let things stop for a second, get some towels, and try again after you've tightened things up. So
we're going to try this out then?
Yep.
Let's put it over here where it's...
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay. So we're looking inside here.
I don't see any leaks up here.
That sound is good. It's also good that we're not getting pipe, hoses coming out or anything. So we're going to look at what it's doing here. See that? That's the hot water, or the one connected to the hot water bypass. Let's stick that under there. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Pump is working.
I don't feel any leaks. Probably good to maybe touch it just so
Yes.
you can feel it if it's really small.
Exactly.
And I don't feel any moisture at all.
Good.
So, we're good.
All right. That sounds good. That looks good. So, we are going to let this run for 45 minutes. Okay? And then at the end of all this, you basically do all of these steps in reverse. Okay, so we're done flushing it. It's been about 45 minutes, an hour.
And 2 Jersey Mike sandwiches later.
And 2 Jersey Mike sandwiches later. Turkey and provolone and rosemary parm. Anyway, so
the pump first, right?
Yeah, so turn off the pump first. And what we're going to do, we're going to try this a little bit different way to kind of clean out the water heater and the pump from the vinegar. So put that to the side. We are going to use the pump again in just a second. But let's dump the bucket out first.
So we will leave the pump here.
Yeah, leave the pump on there for now. Let's dump the bucket out first. Yep.
Into the drain here.
Yep. Should be okay since all this goes to the same place anyway.
I'm just going to clean out the pipes. So.
Yep.
A lot like vinegar, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm making a mess.
Do a nice little clean out of the pipes. We're going to pause this for a second. We're going to dump this out and come back. Okay, so what we're going to do now is disconnect the cold hose from the pump.
This here?
Yep. Use the wrench if you need to just, loosen it.
There.
Perfect.
You know, like particular industry where that's...
Oh, that I don't know. Okay, so go ahead and I'm going to hold this here. If you don't have someone to hold it, use a zip tie. And then go up there and open the cold water valve for just a minute. We're going to see if we can fill this with cold, fresh water. to just flush everything out from the vinegar, including the pump
So just
and
the
the...
cold water valve, that'll come through the bypass and go into the system too, right?
It should, yeah. And either way is fine at the moment. So,
We will very gently
yes.
turn this on. Is it right? Oh, okay.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, so hold on just a minute. We're going to fill it to about where it was with the vinegar. Because again, we want to flush it out of the pump and the water heater and these hoses as much as possible so that the vinegar doesn't sit there while it's in storage. And then for the hot water heater, we just don't want it sitting in those pipes. Exactly, yep.
Filled up the whole system.
Yep.
Actually, that's getting both hoses then.
Yep, it is, which is good. It gives us a good start, that's for sure. Okay, go ahead and turn it off. There we go, perfect. Okay, so as you see, we're ready to go to flush this out.
It just is rinsing it now.
Yeah, so,
You got it?
yeah, I think so. That doesn't feel like it's threaded right.
Here, I'll get it.
Yeah, can you get that? Doing that one-handed without being able to stabilize the pump is not working so well. Got it? Remember, especially with that one, since it's plastic, like, yeah, very gentle, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug the pump back in.
Everything's still on bypass.
Yep, everything is still on bypass. Make sure your hands aren't wet when you're doing this, by the way, with the plugging in and unplugging and all that. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay.
Now we've got cold water going through the system.
Perfect. So yeah, now we're just gonna run this fresh water through the system, just flush out the pump, the water heater, everything from the vinegar. That should just help all this equipment last longer in the end. And then we'll dump that out and go from there. All right, so we ran it for, go ahead and unplug the pump. That's the first step. Perfect. Okay, so.
Hose deconstruction.
Yeah, so we want to get the hoses. Yeah, just kind of put that cord to the side for now. Let's dump out the water first, actually. Just get that out of the way. Go ahead and, yep. Let's get that water dumped out. All right, so we finished dumping out all that water. Go ahead and disconnect the hose from the pump first. Yep. And then this is just a suggestion. Yeah, exactly. Leave it by the drain or in the bucket or something, and then go up top, close the valve.
Just tucking it right under one of these other ones, so it's just
That's a great idea. Yep, I like that. Okay, so go up there, turn the valve first.
Yeah,
the bypass valve.
On the right, not the water. Don't turn the water
Yep, don't
valve.
do the water. No, definitely do not do the water.
Yep.
Close the bypass valve, and then go ahead and unscrew that. If you are worried about a little water dripping, you may want a cloth underneath it. There shouldn't be too much as long as you hold it upright. If you let it drop, you are going to get some water somewhere.
Keeping this end of the hose up.
Yep, so just try to keep it up as much as possible. And then we're going to hold it vertically for a minute to just let all the water drain out of it before we set it to the side. This is all just to keep the mess down, honestly. Like, you can be as crazy as you want here. This isn't crazy, but...
And I didn't get... Yeah, so there's a little bit of water just right on the lip of it, but that's
there you
that's not really in at all. So
while you're here, go ahead and screw that cap back on as well, that little brass cap thing. Yeah. That will save your bacon if you accidentally turn the wrong valve.
yeah, because then it'll bypass it straight into your
Exactly.
wall. Okay, so this is disconnected and the cap is back on.
Yep, that hose is disconnected. Let's take that down.
I'm just going to run it.
Exactly. So see how he's kind of running that, so to just work all the water out of it.
Just let gravity get it, and
Yep.
that one was already pretty good, so
Yep.
that was good to go.
Cool. Just set that to the side.
And you can keep both of the hose bibs up still when you...
Well, the other thing you could do is just put it in the bucket, even if you wanted to.
That's true.
Either
At
way.
this point, we'll just put it straight in the bucket.
Yeah, I think at this point you could probably just put it in the bucket and just leave it. Okay. 'Cause if there's a little water in the bucket, that'll dry out, and the pump's not sitting in the water being tied up like that, so should be fine. All right, so we went ahead and undid that zip tie there. So again, keep that down here. Yeah, we got to keep that water down there, huh?
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
want it. And you happen to it because it'll make splash all over us.
Oh, that would be horrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're up here. Go ahead and close the valve first.
This one.
Yep.
Close
the
right.
bypass valve. Yep. And then go ahead and...
Branches up here.
oh, yeah, there you go. Go ahead and undo this hose. Again, making sure to point it up until it is all drained out. There we go. Just kind of getting loose in there. Yep. Perfect.
A few drops, nothing big.
Perfect. Work all that water out of it, top to bottom. Yep. Perfect.
Looks like it's good to go as well, so.
That's the hole.
Yeah, gravity should really drain these pretty well.
That's the hole.
Luckily, we're not doing anything on the floor. That can get trickier to drain things out without making a huge mess.
Straight in there.
Yep, put the cord in there.
In there.
We'll just let that dry out somewhere. Not going to put the lid on it.
All your stuff is all packed up. That's all for throwaway.
Yep. Okay. Make sure to put the cap on there,
Right, we didn't do that.
just
while
as
we're
a
up here.
safety.
Yep. Unplug, then put the cap on so you don't forget.
Okay, so now that we've got the cap on there and everything, let's go ahead and let's turn on the hot first, so the outgoing, because that's not going to be that's going to make it easier.
Yep.
So-
So it would be a closed system if you did the cold water first. So
Yep.
give it a place to escape. Right.
Bingo, exactly. Just so we don't create weird air bubbles and stuff. That should help, I think.
Okay.
Okay, and then go ahead and turn that on. Let's make sure there's no leaks. Okay.
No sounds of dripping water. I don't
Nope.
feel any water coming out of anywhere there.
Is there any coming out of the drain of this? Nope. We're looking good there. So just, again, use your fingers, feel around. You may have had some drips come off, so get a cloth and dry it off, and then you can feel better, see if it's dripping.
Nothing.
Again, you do not want a slow leak. That could create huge, huge problems for you.
It's almost done.
Okay. So I think we're good there. So now let's go ahead and turn on the gas again. So down here, turn on the gas.
Straight.
Perfect. And plug the water heater back in. Perfect. So if we look here, this should turn on momentarily. There we go. And it is on. All right. So let's go upstairs to the sink and let's make sure we're getting hot water again. Okay, we're going to see if the hot water's working. So turn that on.
Cold.
Is that cold?
Yep.
Oh, that's the
You guys
opposite of ours.
opposite?
Yeah. Who did they? Who is wrong is the real question. Okay. I think we're good.